Hi, Ben from Tenson's. I want to introduce or reintroduce the Legend GT, the 2018 model. For those of you who have either seen our video or seen the older Legend GT, the old one was a blue one, and it had been in the industry a very, very long time. Back in 2018, Legend brands, which do Dry Ease and Sapphire and Microban and a couple other brands, bought out Prochem and brought it all under one roof. But Legend brands being Legend brands and Prochem being made the way Prochem was always made, they didn't go and completely redesign the machine. You'll notice that the Legend still looks like the original Legend, but they did make some tweaks to it and made it better, should we say. So the original old one used to have some radiator style heat exchangers down the side. And Sapphire had made this fantastic coil system that actually dated back to the original Prochems, but they added to it. Originally they used to use a catalytic converter with a heat exchange system to make it superheat the heat exchange. What they've done with this one is using the same type of coil system but welded on the outside copper to the outside of the coils. That copper then actually preheats up the stainless steel, which then heats up the water as it goes through your heat exchange. So the old style heat exchangers, the downside of those is we had to pull them out every 1,000 hours and clean them. They worked really, really well, they're efficient, but they did require a bit more maintenance. This new style heat exchange is maintenance free. The other thing that they've done with the new Legend GT, it's completely aluminium now. The old one was made out of steel, it's an aluminium frame. The Kohler engine, they've gone and kept the same Kohler engine. Matter of fact, the 370 has actually got the same engine now as the Legend GT had. The Legend GT always was overpowered compared to its other competitors. It runs a 23 horsepower Kohler engine. You could run this on a 20, no problem at all. But what they've done is kept the same principles what Prochem always had. They detune it. It runs at 2,850 RPM under load, so it's not revving. It doesn't need to burn up a truckload of fuel. The fuel burn on these is 3.78 litres, and they've added in an oil cooler. The oil cooler gives it a bit more longevity. So life, we're seeing 5,000 hours out of these Kohler engines, provided you change the oil every 100 hours. Keep your spark plug, keep good air in them. Good fuel. Yeah, we're comfortably seeing about 5,000 hours. What else did they add onto this particular machine? They've still kept the same reliable design of the Legend GT. So if you grab the old one versus the new one, you'll see the engine's in the same spot, the pressure pump's in the same spot, the blower's in the same spot. It's still using all the same componentry. So the pressure pumps run a Teflon seal hot water pressure pump. They'll go up to 70 degrees Celsius before they'll do any damage to those seals. And you can run this 7 hours dry before it'll damage the seals. Seal replacement around 4,000 hours before you have to replace them. Versus some of the older models that we used to have, you run them for 5 or 10 minutes without any water in them. Especially happens on flood jobs or someone parks on the hose. It'll cook the pressure pump and you're up for a rebuild. The way the water actually flows into the machine comes in through the front into your water box at the back. So there's no water well or any other. They're still using the same water tank that they were using on the old Legends. They're still using the same valves. The valves are repairable inside. There's a $7 grommet to replace it. Water goes from this into your pressure pump, into your heat exchange, and out the front. So the actual pressure pump is never getting any hot water in this particular machine. As you can see, it's still the same compact design. They have added on B series belts now, so they're a wider belt. So you should comfortably see over 2,000 hours before you need to replace the belts. And that's all obviously based on the fact that you adjust your belts. Belt wear and tear, you can wreck a set of belts in any machine in about 200 or 300 hours if you don't adjust your belt. So it's very, very important to adjust your belt. Temperature is still controlled through the valve on the front. There is still the temperature orifice on the side here, and your cat valve on the back. So for those of you who had the Legend GT before, the new one now creates a little bit more heat. I'm actually saying it's closer to 10 degrees. And the airflow, because of the way the heat exchangers are now, it's got more of an open flow through the heat exchange, finding it has more airflow and suction. It's instant heat as well, because the old style relied on the water tank at the back also getting hot, a bit warmer, and with the 3 heat exchange coils, the water's instantaneous. You start the machine, by the time you roll the hoses out, it's hot. We're looking around 105, 110 degrees Celsius out of this machine. We do run it on the 14-inch wand. It does recommend that you can run it on the 04 with 12-inch. We do run it on the 06 here in Queensland. It's quite comfortable. It works quite well. I've got a lot of guys using it at that temperature, and it's definitely still doing well over 100 degrees Celsius. So on the front of the machine, exactly the same way as the old one was laid out, we got our solution pump, vacuum pump, solution temperature. The temperature is measured as it comes out the front here, not out the heat exchange. Waste pump switch if you want to choke, solution pump. You've got your override. So the override there is to prime the fuel pump up if you run out of fuel, and also to start the machine, and as a telltale sign that something else is wrong. Key, ignition. For those of you who have seen this before, it's all still the same. They've kept the same componentry. They've kept everything the same that previously was in the old Prochem Legend GT. They've just made it a little better. The other thing they've added on these is Cerakote. Cerakote is a ceramic coating on the heat exchange. And I can tell you the difference between, we had a brand new Legend GT without the Cerakote and the one with the Cerakote, and the difference in heat was quite dramatic. It heated up faster, it held its heat a lot more, and there was definitely less heat inside the van. We got one particular customer, he's got 2 new ones, and one had Cerakote, one didn't, and it's a big difference between the two. We actually ended up playing around with the nozzles and a little bit of other stuff inside here to get them both the same, because it seriously makes that much difference with the Cerakote on the outside. Then the Cerakote's coated on all the heat exchange pipes. All the exhaust gases are pushed into the heat exchange rather than venting out into your truck. Front of the machine, you still got your vacuum port, your pressure adjuster, your temperature adjuster. So with the Legend GT, there's no dial to set your temperature. They just get hot. They get really, really hot. If you want less temperature in a Legend, you either turn the throttle down or open up the valve. The reason why they do this is so that you've got there's less moving componentry in these things. There's one relay in the back of the dash. You've got one switch on the front here that you're going to use all day. There's no additional bits and pieces on it to break down. And it's also great for guys who have got 2 and 3 or 4 or 5 of these machines that have different operators on them. They're very, very basic. So, as I said, this is the new Legend GT. It came out in 2018 when Prochem got bought out by Legend Brands. This is probably one of our most popular models that we sell. We're happy to talk to you with any sort of packages or van options that you'd like to look at. Thanks again.